Hello, my dear Polyglots. This is Niki, and you're watching Natural Language. Have you ever tried to memorize 50 words just before a trip? You probably felt confident, thinking, hey, I got this. I think I can do this. But then you get there, try to order some coffee, and your brain just goes blank. Or maybe you finally come up with a sentence, but it's too late and the conversation's moved on. It's frustrating, right? It kind of feels like you're doing your best, but your memory is working against you. Well, if that's the case, remember, it's not your fault. It's your brain just being a brain. In this episode, we're going to discuss why that happens and then show you how to actually work with your memory using a method called spaced repetition. Before we begin though, make sure you like this video and subscribe for more science-backed language learning insights. Let's get started. Think of your memory like a leaky bucket. I know this is a simplified picture, but it helps us understand what's happening when we learn new things. So when you first try to memorize a word, it's like pouring water into that leaky bucket. That first impression of the word is pretty fragile, and if you don't reinforce it, most of the water quickly drains away. Imagine trying to pour in lists of vocabulary you got from your teacher or you found online. If you keep it there without repetition, you will forget about 80% of it in just a matter of days. That's like throwing away 4 out of 5 words. And this isn't just some random number, it's based on research, and it's called the forgetting curve. This is a concept from cognitive psychology discovered in the 19th century by Hermann Ebbinghaus. And it shows how fast we forget things if we don't actively work to keep it in. Can you see the steep drop at the beginning? That's how fast the initial forgetting happens. And there's a specific reason for that. Your brain efficiently makes room for the information it thinks is important. Does it sound familiar? Can you think of a time your brain went blank at the worst possible moment? If so, share your story in the comments because laughter is the best medicine. To keep information, like new vocabulary, you need to reinforce it until it becomes part of your long-term memory. Think of your long-term memory like this huge warehouse that can keep information for a very long time, even a lifetime. And that's the goal. How do we patch the leaks in our memory bucket? Let's talk about a spaced repetition system, or SRS for short. At its core, it's a simple yet powerful idea. You review information at increasing intervals to improve long-term retention. Research suggests the first repetition should occur anywhere within a few minutes to an hour. A common starting schedule, backed by learning principles, is to review again after 1 day, then 3 days, then 7 days, and then perhaps 14 days, and so on. This schedule isn't set in stone. It can and should be adjusted to match your individual learning pace. In fact, most spaced repetition systems use a scheduling algorithm specifically designed to target an optimal recall rate of around 80 to 90%. Now you might wonder, why not aim for 100% recall every time? And there's a reason for that. If recalling feels too easy, you're not challenging your brain enough, and therefore you aren't really learning. This is called desirable difficulty. Using spaced repetition, you review information when you're about to forget. Not too soon when it's still fresh in your head, and not too late when it's already faded and you have to relearn it completely. There's a sweet spot that maximizes the benefits with the least amount of wasted effort, which is exactly that optimal recall rate of 80 to 90% that SRS aims for. To help you see how this works, let's take a look at the forgetting curve again. The dotted lines show how fast we forget without any review. The solid blue line shows the forgetting curve when we use spaced repetition. You give your memory a boost just before you forget, which slows down the drop. Alright, so now that we know why it works, let's talk about how to actually use it. The most common way of using this system is with flashcards. Think of a traditional flashcard. You have the question or a cue on one side and the answer on the other. Imagine you have the English word cat on one side and the Spanish word gato on the other. The key is you don't just passively look at both sides. You look at the front of the card, try to answer from memory, and then flip it over to check if you were right. And there are two main paths you can take, the digital route or the old school hands-on approach. Let's talk about SRS flashcard apps. These apps are designed to make spaced repetition straightforward and efficient. And they're available on pretty much every device, phones, computers, tablets, you name it. With most SRS apps, you start by creating a deck for your target language, let's say Spanish. And then you add individual cards, each with front and a back. A very popular example of such an SRS app, and one often considered the gold standard, is Anki. Other options include Memrise, Quizlet, and SuperMemo. While each app has its own unique features, they all share the core SRS principles. The power lies in the algorithm. Every time you review a card, you tell the app if it was easy, hard, or you completely forgot it. It then schedules your next review at just the right moment to maximize retention. This algorithm is based on years of cognitive science research, so you can trust it to optimize your learning. Now, what if you prefer something more tangible? A lot of people prefer using pen and paper when they study. They just don't feel it like when they have to use technology for learning. If you are one of them, don't worry. You can also make use of spaced repetition. There's a simple and effective method called the Leitner System. It was developed by a German science journalist called Sebastian Leitner. It uses a series of boxes and a simple review schedule. Here's how it works. You start with all of your cards in the first box. And then each time you review your cards, if you answer it correctly, it moves to the next box, which you review less frequently. If you get it wrong though, it moves back to the first box. This way, you're focusing more on the words you struggle with while still reinforcing the ones you know. Whichever approach you choose, the core principles remain the same. Spaced repetition, active recall, consistent review, and the strategic use of desirable difficulty. These are the keys to long-term vocabulary retention. And do you lean towards using learning software, or are you more of a pen and paper person? I know I'm more of a pen and paper person. Let us know in the comments below which one you are. Now, what should you put on your flashcards? One of the first choices you'll face is deciding whether to create your own cards or to use a pre-made deck. Now, I know a deck of 1000 Spanish words might sound tempting, but if you rely on that alone, you'll miss out on key advantages of creating your own cards. So let's say you're reading a book and you come across a word you don't know. Don't just skip it. Look it up, try to understand its nuances, and then write it down. That active engagement encodes the word into your memory before SRS even begins. And pre-made flashcards skip this very important cognitive work. While basic sets like colors or numbers could be a useful starting point, it's definitely way more useful to create your own cards. Okay, but is it only useful for words? Absolutely not. You can definitely use SRS to practice grammar as well. You just have to set it up effectively. Because you don't want to be memorizing abstract grammar rules, because that's slow brain thinking. And we want to train our fast brain. To learn more about these concepts, check out our video on System 1 and System 2 thinking. So how can you learn grammar with SRS? For example, if you're learning a particular grammatical structure, you can create 10 simple sentence flashcards where that structure is used. So let's say you're learning the German while clause, which sends the verb to the end. A good card might look like this. By recalling the sentence, you're actively practicing how to use while correctly. Try to make your examples and sentences personal and relevant to your life. A sentence that's true for you will stick in your memory better than a generic one. This way, you're truly learning grammar as a tool for real communication. And you're making sure that you're not just learning a language, you're living it. So how does SRS compare to other common ways people try to learn vocabulary? The most basic method is probably writing out a list of words and their translations and then reading it over and over and over again. This is probably the least effective method because it's just pure passive review and your brain isn't actively engaged and therefore it's not creating any meaningful connections. Covering one side of the list is slightly better because it introduces active recall, but you're still wasting time on the words you already know and neglecting the ones you struggle with. And also, it's hard to manage more lists in the long run. Another approach is to use mnemonics. Mnemonics are a great tool for the words you struggle with, but it'll take a lot of extra effort if you want to create one for every single word you learn. And it can kind of leave you stuck in the middle of a conversation trying to remember the mnemonics for the word you learned. Ideally, you want to remember the word directly without having to rely on mnemonics. SRS, on the other hand, is a precision tool built on how we learn best. It uses spaced repetition and active recall for optimal long-term retention. By the way, if you often find yourself freezing up in conversations like we discussed earlier, you might want to check out our app Natulink. It combines practical conversation practice with SRS, making your reviews both realistic and relevant. So we're kind of proud to say that it scientifically patches that leaky bucket. To sum up, in today's video we learned that our brains are designed to forget, which is why the forgetting curve is so steep at the beginning. By using spaced repetition, be it digital flashcards or a hands-on Leitner approach, you reinforce your memory just in time. This strategy makes learning vocabulary and grammar efficient and practical, turning language learning into an engaging and lasting experience. That's it for today's discussion on spaced repetition. If you enjoyed it, make sure you like and subscribe for more science-driven language learning tips. I'm Niki, and you have watched Natural Language.